making headlines. President announces that early weather warning systems are being established across Maldives to enhance national resilience against climate change. Economic Minister says government is implementing every measure possible to overcome the country's debt distress without compromising needs of the people. BML CEO says more than 250 self-service ATMs will be installed in all islands of the Maldives by the end of this year. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Minha Maroof. President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu announces that early weather warning systems are being established across the Maldives to enhance national resilience against climate change. The president made the statement in a social media post on the occasion of the World Meteorological Day. In his post, the president reaffirmed the Maldives' commitment to closing the early warning gap. He said that through investments in advanced meteorological infrastructure, the government was working to ensure that every island and citizen has access to timely and accurate warnings to improve resilience in the face of climate change. The president emphasized that the government's policies prioritize the integration of early warning systems into national climate adaptation and disaster risk reduction frameworks. The Maldives Disaster Risk Reduction Strategy 2024 to 2030 was developed to facilitate the establishment of an early warning system to protect the nation's environment and infrastructure from weather-related and other disasters. In addition, the government has initiated multiple efforts to ensure financial assistance to address climate change-related issues. The government has been advocating for increased financial support for small island countries vulnerable to climate change at various international forums. President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu directs relevant agencies to urgently identify and procure the equipment and resources needed to run the National Thalassemia Center as a hospital, following concerns raised by families over inadequate services. The president has pledged to oversee the necessary changes personally to ensure that all the difficulties faced by thalassemia patients are resolved. Less than 24 hours after thalassemia patients and their families voiced their concerns, the president visited the center and observed its daily operations. He met with patients and listened to their grievances and assured them that the administration would swiftly address their concerns. The president also met with the staff and inspected the condition of the center. He then directed the heads of the relevant agencies to make necessary measures as soon as possible. The president also visited the Orange Hia building in Hulumale, which is being prepared to replace the National Thalassemia Center. During his visit, he assessed the construction progress and discussion of the transition process. The president emphasized the need for a smooth relocation, ensuring that patients and service seekers face no disruptions during the transition. He also stressed the importance of close coordination with those receiving treatment to maintain accessibility and continuity of care. Since 2017, the Thalassemia Center has been run without a director general. The president has asked for an immediate solution to rectify the situation and also directed the immediate recruitment of additional nurses to address a nurse shortage and to arrange a senior physician for the center. He also asked to procure essential medical equipment and laboratory facilities. He assured that there are no financial obstacles to bring the necessary changes. The president also directed that the center's operational hours to be aligned with those of a hospital, similar to Indira Gandhi Memorial Hospital. The Ministry of Finance and Planning, Musa Zamir, also participated in the discussions. He assured the arrangements have been made to resolve all the issues without any financial difficulties to implement the improvement. He said relevant authorities have been granted a specific time period to fulfill the president's instructions. Ministry of Cities, Local Government and Public Works states that government has ramped up its efforts to bring festive cheer to communities nationwide coinciding with Eid al-Fitr. According to the ministry, the initiative aims to integrate cultural expression and public engagement through decorative lighting across the islands. Deputy Minister Muhammad Hassan said that Ha Alif Atoll Diddu is one of the first islands to embrace the transformation, with work currently being conducted by the island to install lights and arcas. Meanwhile, similar work will begin in Ha Dal Kurudufushi, Shaviani Atoll Funadu. Furthermore, islands in the north including Ha Alif Ihavandu, Horafushi, Ha Dal Nolivaram, Milandu and Shaviani Fokaidu will also join the program and decorate their communities for the Eid festive season. The ministry has collaborated with State Electric Company, Stelco and Fenaco Corporation, whose technical teams are assisting the efforts. According to the government, the aim is to enrich the celebratory experience for all age groups, from children to elderly, fostering a collective sense of joy. Launched last year under the administration of President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu, the program initially focused on the capital islands of each atoll. This year, efforts are expanding to an additional 36 islands with budgetary provisions. Festive lighting during Eid, a practice widely observed in Islamic countries, serves as both a cultural and communal cornerstone. Within the capital city Male, the Eid Ali project is already transforming streets, with similar work advancing in Vilimale and Hurumale. Minister of Economic Development and Trade Mohammed Saeed says the government is implementing every measure possible to overcome the country's debt distress without compromising on the essential needs and services of the people. President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu is implementing every measure possible to overcome the country's debt distress without compromising on the essential needs and services of the people. Speaking after inaugurating ATM services in Utimu, Ha Alif Atoll, Minister Saeed said the President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu has continued to work around the clock since assuming office despite the current financial and debt distress facing the nation. He pointed out that the country was on the brink of defaulting on its debts when President Dr. Muizzu took office in November 2023. However, the president is navigating the country out of such debt distress without compromising on establishing such essential services and infrastructure, especially in the islands, the minister said. President Dr. Muizzu has pledged to provide ATM services in all inhabited islands of the Maldives by the end of the year, ensuring that all Maldivians have access to banking services. Bank of Maldives BML CEO Muhammad Sharif has said over 250 self-service ATMs will be installed in all of the islands by the end of this year. Sharif made these remarks after inaugurating ATM services in Utimu as part of the initiative to install ATMs in all inhabited islands of Ha Alif Atoll. In November last year, BML announced an ambitious initiative to install ATMs in all inhabited islands by the end of 2025. This initiative aligns with the President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu's pledge to provide ATM services in all inhabited islands of the Maldives, ensuring that all Maldivians have access to banking services. Sharif said the president's directive is to provide banking services to all Maldivians regardless of population size, adding that BML is working to execute the vision and more than 250 ATMs will be installed throughout the Maldives by the end of this year. This service will provide residents with a convenient and reliable way to manage their everyday banking needs, providing cash deposit, withdrawal, transfer and payment services 24/7, he added. In addition to expanding its physical network, the bank is also working to strengthen its digital banking solutions, he said. Sharif urged the local residents to treat the ATMs as an asset of the island and to protect and maintain the facilities. A Sri Lankan cruise liner with hundreds of tourists on board has arrived in Maldives for the second time this calendar year. The cruise liner MS Crystal Symphony arrived in Maldives on 23rd March with over 300 passengers and 477 crew members. This marks the second time this year the ship has visited the Maldives. The Immigration Department said. The ship had visited the Maldives in January this year with over 200 passengers and 300 crew members. Additionally, 1,274 tourists and 751 crew members arrived on the 9th March aboard the MS Zuridaram, which is also a cruise line from Colombo, Sri Lanka. Recognizing the sector's importance to the economy, the current administration has intensified efforts to strengthen cruise ship tourism. To facilitate this growth, the government has embarked on developing 3 specialized harbors across different regions to accommodate cruise ships. With the government's focus on increasing cruise ship tourism, overall tourist arrivals in the Maldives have continued to rise. According to the Ministry of Tourism and Environment, the nation has welcomed over 588,484 visitors so far this year, reflecting a positive trend in tourism growth. President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu assures that all individuals registered with the Maldives Hajj Corporation for this year's pilgrimage will be able to fulfill their spiritual journey. The President conveyed this assurance in a social media post, marking a pivotal step in addressing long-standing concerns over delays faced by Maldivian pilgrims. The assurance represents a departure from previous years when many registered applicants faced prolonged waiting periods. This year's breakthrough coincides with President Dr. Muizzu's broader reforms aimed at streamlining the corporation's operations and improving access for Maldivian citizens. On 5th January, the President initiated regulatory amendments to prioritize first-time pilgrims. By 18th March, the updated framework had been enacted, granting precedence to individuals aged over 65 who have yet to perform the pilgrimage. As per the revised guidelines, those above the age of 75 are also permitted to travel with a caretaker, preferably a family member, based on health considerations. The revised regulations also address repeat applicants. Individuals who have previously performed Hajj must now observe a mandatory waiting period of 5 years before reapplying under the corporation's arrangements. The President's office has disclosed ongoing negotiations with Saudi Arabian authorities to secure an increased Hajj quota for the Maldives. Such measures, the President's office has said, aim to elevate waiting times, enhance service standards, and reinforce public confidence in the Hajj Corporation's management. Data from the Hajj Corporation provides additional context. A total of 9,115 individuals are currently registered for the pilgrimage, including 7,543 under the age of 65. 1,461 aged between 65 and 75, and 111 aged above 75. Notably, 8,623 registrants are first-time pilgrims, illustrating the significance of the newly prioritized framework. Beijing hosts a business forum attended by international executives and politicians as China seeks to attract foreign investment at a time of heightened geopolitical tensions.
China's policymakers are also trying to boost domestic consumption to offset fresh U.S. tariff headwinds. Foreign CEOs, including Tim Cook of Apple, Cristiano Amon of Qualcomm, Pascal Soriot of AstraZeneca, and Amin Nasser of Saudi Aramco, were among the attendees. China's state media reported that Chinese Premier Li Qiang addressed the China Development Forum, attended by visiting U.S. Republican Senator Steve Daines, and urged countries to open their markets to combat rising instability and uncertainty. There were fewer American CEOs attending the summit than last year due to heightened tensions between Beijing and Washington, according to one source. Li met with Daines and 7 other American CEOs on Sunday afternoon, which Daines billed as a chance for them to share their views of the business environment in China.
The first cruise ship of the season arrives at the island of Santorini following waves of earthquakes in February, which caused cruise ships to divert to other islands, force people to flee, and raise concerns about tourism sector.
Tourists expressed excitement about returning to Santorini and said they were reassured by the government's safety assurances, while locals, including shop owner Tassos Kontos, said they're hopeful that the island's tourism would bounce back.
It's exciting, yeah, to know that the island's open again and we get to visit first. It's safe, yeah.
We love being the first cruise ship that got the chance to come to Santorini. We feel really blessed.
I've been here before, and yes, it's kind of unusual how you've redone where we stop, where we go, but you've worked it out in the midst of all of your shakes around here. So I think you've done a good job.
Greece, sitting on multiple fault lines, is one of Europe's most earthquake-prone countries.
A U.S. airstrike on a building in the Asser neighborhood of Sana'a leaves at least one person dead and 13 others injured.
Eyewitnesses claim the casualties were passerby on the street and the building itself was unoccupied at the time of the strike. The building was reduced to a mangled heap of shattered concrete and twisted metal, its floors pancaked and walls crumbled. Blankets, chunks of doors and windows, and other remnants of daily life were scattered across the jagged ruins. Emergency responders continued their search for survivors amidst the wreckage, while residents of the adjacent building attempted to salvage their belongings. The U.S. military has so far released few details about its offensive against Yemen, launched after Houthi threats to renew its attacks on Red Sea shipping over the war in Gaza.
South Korea's constitutional court rules to strike down the impeachment of Prime Minister Han Duck-soo and restore his powers, marking the latest twist in the country's political turmoil after his impeachment as acting president more than 2 months ago.
Han took over as acting leader from President Yoon Suk-yeol, who was himself impeached over his short-lived declaration of martial law last year. Prime Minister Han lasted less than 2 weeks in the post and was impeached and suspended on December 27th after clashing with the opposition-led parliament by refusing to appoint 3 more justices to the Constitutional Court. The justices on the court ruled 7-1 to strike down the impeachment. The court said that there were not enough grounds to impeach Prime Minister Han Duck-soo as he did not violate the constitution or the law. Following the ruling, Han returns to his acting president position immediately. He expressed his gratitude to the Constitutional Court after it ruled to reinstate his powers after his impeachment as acting president more than 2 months ago.
Yago Dora narrowly defeats Italo Ferreira in the men's final to win a battle of Brazilian surfers at the World Surf League's Rip Curl Pro event in Portugal.
Under partly cloudy skies with 8 to 10 foot or 2.5 to 3 meter surf, Dora's best 2 rides of the final combined for 13.37 out of 20, while championship tour leader Ferreira managed 12.43, giving Dora the win and vaulting him up the overall CT standings into 4th place. On the women's side, American Caroline Marks defeated countrywoman Gabriella Bryan 7.90 to 6.97 in the final to earn her first win of the young season and move into 3rd spot on the overall standings. The CT now heads across the Atlantic to El Salvador for the Surf City Pro with a window from April 2nd to 12th.
The Japan Meteorological Agency officially announces the start of the cherry blossom season in the country's capital after observing a benchmark tree at Yasukuni Shrine.
Weather officials annually announce the start of the sakura season in Tokyo after confirming 5 to 6 flowers blossoming on the benchmark tree, and the announcement this year came 5 days earlier than last year. The iconic flower has been beloved by the people of Japan for centuries and recently has been enticing an increasing number of foreign visitors during the cherry blossom season, which typically kicks off in March. The Japan National Tourism Organization announced in April last year that 3,081,600 foreign tourists visited the country in March 2024, up 69.5% from March 2023.
That's all we have for now. Thank you for watching. Wish you all a very pleasant day ahead.
ಬರಕಾತೆರೆ ರಮಲಾನ್ ಮಹುಗೆ ಹೇ ಒಯ್ದುಮಾತ ಹುನಿಯಾ ಟಿವಿ ಬಲ್ಲವಾ ಲೋಬಿತಿ ರೈತುನಂ ಅರಿಸ್ಕುರಂ